From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Go. And on the count of three.
Wake up! What is up? It is Wake Up Warchant, and it's presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. CPTallybar.com. That's the website. But we'll let you know what's going on. It's Thursday as you're listening to this, so it is bingo night over at the CP. Check it out. You can place your orders online. Just show up. It'll change your life. It's fantastic. Great food, great folks. You're going to love it. I guarantee it. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, CP Tally Bar. Download the Warchant app, 5-star review on the Apple iPhone, whatever it's called, and a thumbs up on YouTube. That would be super awesome, because Warchant.com has you covered front to back, top to bottom with preseason camp. Corey Clark here. He wrote a column with observations. Not a column, but just Corey's observations. We're going to talk about all of that coming up on the show here. But Corey also being a dedicated son en route to his mother's 80th birthday party, as well as his son's orientation to high school. You're all grown up, Corey. Look at you.
Yeah, man. It's pretty remarkable. My mom is 80, which is crazy enough, and then my son is about to be a high schooler in a week. Time flies, man. Time flies.
Also, battery life.
I gotta get my mom a present still.
Okay. Maybe a Spotify account. Then you can set her up on Wake Up War Channel. Download right to her phone. It'll be awesome. So,
yeah, that's the thing. She actually does listen because it pops up on her Facebook feed.
Nice.
So she'll listen to it. She always says she listens for about 3 or 4 minutes until we start talking about football, and then she tunes out, which I can understand.
Yeah. Well, let's get to it then. Corey's.
We want Sharon Clark. We're done with Sharon Clark. Sorry, Mom. That's the end. You can turn us off now.
Let's get to it. Corey's got limited battery life. He's driving. He's in harm's way. So let's start big picture, and then we'll hammer down to specifics on offense and defense, Corey. But when we spoke to Mike Norvell after practice, he talked about, the speed, the aggressiveness of their implementation, I guess, of, schemes and game planning and what they want to be able to do in practice. What did you sort of see, and what did you take away from what Mike Norvell had to say after day one's practice?
Yeah, you could tell he wasn't enthralled with the way they played. He was, or the way they practiced. There were some bumps in the road, but it sounded like he expected it because they didn't ease him into anything. This was like a middle of August practice, and it's late July. It's the first day. There's no pads, but he said that he made reference that the new guys, their heads might have been swimming a little bit, but that was all part of the plan. And it was so hot, man. Not that it's not hot in the first or second week of August in Tallahassee. We all know that. But it felt like a different kind of heat in late July out there that first day. And, the players suffered. I mean, that was 4 to 6 is the hottest part of the day. They're going fast. They don't take a lot of breaks. And, you could tell it affected some players, which, that means they are going hard when they're playing. But, you could tell at the end of practice, guys were really struggling. I was really struggling. I sweated through 2 shirts. But I was wearing my hat, Aslan. Did you like the hat?
Loved it. Everybody did. Lots of compliments.
Yeah. Well, look, man, when you get all this stuff, you keep getting stuff cut off your face, you got to start wearing the bucket hats just to protect everything. But so overall, though, I thought, and you would agree with this, I think, the defense was better than the offense. And that's not a surprise at all, right? Like, that's kind of what we envisioned. I think the defense is ahead of the offense. I think the defense was better than the offense was last year on the whole, especially the last 2 months of the season. And it played out that way, and they were better in the spring. And although the offense made strides, the defense was still better, and I thought it played out that way the first day of practice. But again, Mike Norvell even referenced it. They were essentially in pajamas on Wednesday. Like those were his words. They're not in pads. They're in shorts and a helmet. So you can only glean so much from that kind of practice.
Yeah. No, very, very true. And yeah, Jeff and Ira did a wrap-up that's up on the YouTube page. You guys can check that out, get their thoughts, their 2 cents on things. And yeah, the defense, as we always say, the cliche, they're always going to be a little bit ahead of the offense this time of year. So that is to be expected. Not that, the offense couldn't get anything done, but it was limited sort of stuff. The first initial period where they do their 11 on 11, it was just 11 on air. The offense just kind of going out there running quick plays, as many as they kind of could. And then period number 3, they did do some 11 on 11 towards the end of practice, which we can hammer down a little bit later. But, just in terms of a big picture thing, Corey, Jeff and Ira mentioned it, just they thought that Florida State looked significantly kind of bigger, more mature, developed on the offensive line and defensive line. I agree with that to a certain extent. I think there's certain guys, Robert Scott put on 30 pounds, and you mentioned this when I told you. I mean, he doesn't look like he gained 30 pounds to me, or maybe it was somewhere 25 pounds, but he put on a significant amount of weight. I don't know. I guess I'm looking at their upper body. I'm looking at their shoulders, the width of their back. I'm looking at their arms. I didn't see a lot of that from Robert. So not that that's a bad thing. I'm not casting aspersions on our guy here, but Jason Turntine is a large human being, but he didn't strike me as a guy that has a different sort of build. But I did see a guy like Jackson West to me looked very physically well developed. I thought Bryson Estes was a guy who to me looked very sort of well developed, and their body had kind of changed a little bit. Jordan again has put on some muscle mass. So was there anybody that kind of took you by not surprise, but anybody that you thought physically just looked more polished, more developed than last time when we saw them in the spring?
No, and I really wish I'd have looked. I forgot to look for Lundy.
Well, we had a photo of him. We tweeted a photo. I mean, he's more defined. He looks a little bit more cut. He's not as soft and round. He's a little bit more chiseled, if you will. So that was encouraging.
Yeah, and obviously Fuller and Norvell mentioned him on Tuesday, and then we talked to Tatum Bethune after practice on Wednesday, and he mentioned him too. He said he looks like a different. You can see his abs. He looks like a different guy, he's quicker. So, that'll be interesting to follow because you can't play the whole season with 2 linebackers. It'll be interesting to see what that means for DJ Lundy because he's had nice moments. I think he can play. I think it's just he was a little limited athletically because of the build. But if he's kind of worked himself into more of a nimble guy and a more athletic guy, then it's interesting to see because we know he's physical. What that means. Otherwise, no, not really. I will say one thing that I did notice is when you talk about the newcomers and the guys that weren't here in the spring, or we can even bring up the guys that were here in the spring, like Charlton, and then you bring in somebody like Armella. Man, they look different than the offensive linemen they were bringing in recent years, in my opinion. They just look more the part. We'll see if they can play. But they look more the part physically, more physically developed, the way it's proportioned on their body. They look more the part than the guys they've had come in recent years. So we'll see what that translates to. But that was something I noticed as well, and I'm sure Ira or Jeff both probably talked about it on the wrap. But, they had 21 offensive linemen out there.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Now, they're not on scholarship, but the vast majority are. And think about where they used to be, Aslan, where they would struggle to have scholarship linemen on the 2 deep. And now they've got 21 guys out there, which just makes it so much easier to coach. You know what I mean? And to learn. It just that I don't think it can be overstated how big that is to have those kind of numbers at that position for the first time in forever, man.
Yeah, that's a significant kind of thing that we probably will we'll touch on more throughout camp. But just when you watch Alex Atkins coaching up the first unit guys, which again we really can't go into depth charts, everybody. But there is video out there. If you check out the YouTube page, you can maybe kind of glean some of the stuff from that. But when he's done with the first team, he's like, all right, next unit up. And you look at the guys and you're like, all right, well, they look pretty, physically developed. These look like guys. I mean, there was moments there. I remember there was a moment in October, November 2018, Greg Fry, he didn't dress the guys down, but Greg Fry was coaching the offensive line, and he was having to use walk-ons and just second, third-year guys, just nothing. The light wasn't coming on. And he sat there and audibly lamented. He's just like, man, this is a terribly unathletic group. He's like, this is one unathletic group of players. Said that out loud. and you're like, well, that's not good. And now you look at what they've got rolling in, second team, third team, and you're like, all right, man, if this guy goes down, again, we hope that they're going to be able to maintain their starting five throughout the season. But if somebody does go down, obviously they'll be in better shape. But then, I don't know, like how many times did guys go down here in the last year that cost Florida State a game? I guess maybe NC State. I know not having Dylan Gibbons was a big deal, but that just seemed like there were so many guys that had been out. But do we just take that on the whole as just an overall improvement that we just feel good about, despite the fact that we might not be able to point to single instances of lack of depth causing them like a win or a loss? We just think that's going to create better habits and practice that'll create a better team overall for Saturdays and Fridays and Sundays.
Also think about last year if you had a viable candidate to back up Devontae Love-Taylor.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to play at 55% or whatever he was.
Right, absolutely.
You had guys that at 100% weren't better than the starter you had at 50% or 60%. I don't know that that's necessarily the case anymore. I think you've got guys that you trust. You've got Elin. You brought everybody back that was good, that was decent at the end of last season, and then also brought in 3 transfers that have played a ton, or 4 transfers maybe that have played a ton. So that's 4 transfers. That's a good deal. That's a good sign. Like you just got more depth, and you've got more proven depth and capable depth. And I know offensive line, some people it's not all that exciting. It's certainly not the sexiest of things to talk about. You want to hear about skill positions and wide receivers and quarterbacks, but man, the albatross around this program for the last half decade, the thing that has been absolutely horrific, has been that position group. It has been not Power 5. It's just not been. It's been one of, maybe in the last 5 years, it's one of the worst Power 5 offensive line groups in the country. And now they've rectified it to the point where it might be one of the, middle of the road, a little better than that in the ACC, which I know that's not what you want. You want to have the best one in the country, but coming from the depths they came from to now be at a point where you feel pretty good about the O-line, you feel good about the depth you've added. Man, Norvell and Atkins knew when they got here, man, we have to switch. This has to change. And that to me is a really positive sign of what Norvell has built, is that he knew the problem. Everybody knew the problem, but he went out and attacked it to the point now where he's got 21 guys that can go out there and practice. I mean, it is the most important position on an offense. If you're good on the offensive line, you have a good offense. It's just that simple. When you don't have a good offensive line, it is almost impossible to have a good offense. So now the fact that they're closer to being good than they have been in, 7 years, is a really good sign and a testament to what he's trying to build.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in some ways it is the product of the depth. I believe that like their starting 5 is going to be good to quite.
Don't you
good.
think too, Aslan, when you bring up the starting 5? So let's say that Dimitri Emmanuel, let's say he starts.
Okay.
At one of the positions. I don't even know where he'd go at, but where he'd go. I mean, they practice him at a certain position. Yes, I think I saw mostly guard, but he can play everything. But say he starts. Well, think about your backup then. What if your backup's Darius Washington?
Yes.
What if Maurice Smith's backup is Caden Lyles?
Mm-hmm.
And what if Bless Harris's backup is a 355-pound behemoth from South Carolina in turning time? Yeah. Man, they have never had anything like that.
Like Brock Rubel enters the chat, Corey. Brock Rubel has entered the chat.
No, I'm not talking about a big dude. I'm talking about having such established options for depth purposes.
Right.
Because
no, you're right.
My point being, if Dimitri Emmanuel wins the job, or maybe switch it to this way, if Darius Washington wins the job and is starting right guard, buddy, he earned it.
Yes.
It wasn't just given to him because he was the best of awful options. Like, he has to go actually beat out a guy that's pretty darn good. So does Maurice Smith. So does Bless Harris. So does Robert Scott, even potentially. Like, those are things that haven't been the case around here. In that competition level of practice, like you asked Norvell on after the practice, like the battles that he's most excited to see, and, of course, he said all of them. But that makes practice, man. And, iron sharpens iron, Aslan. Iron sharpens iron. And finally, they got some iron around this program up front.
All right, let's jump into then observations. I know you wrote an entire story for our subscribers over on warchant.com. Again, check that out, folks. Download the app, warchant.com. Make it part of your life. Jared Verse, saw him being disruptive. That was cool. Saw some great one-on-one battles. Jeff and Ira had really good things to say about our guy, Amarian Cooper, Duke Cooper. I thought Jarian Jones had a pretty good day, especially in one-on-ones, but you were a little bit more offensive-friendly and called my guy for some DPI, although we didn't see any laundry on the field. That was encouraging to me. I thought Jarian played super aggressive now. Maybe he did tug some jerseys and he won't get away with that stuff in a game, but he was a guy that I thought might come out hesitant, but hopefully he's kind of embracing his, perhaps a money season for him if he can put something together here. But that secondary just continues to look good in one-on-ones. There were some good passes being thrown, but I thought they were more better, at least when we're talking about one-on-one. So if we can maybe go into 11-on-11 here in a little bit later. But I just thought the one-on-ones and that sort of the first time when they get back to going offense, good on good after special teams, I just thought that the DBs had a really good day.
Yeah, I did too. I thought overall, even when you go into 11-on-11 and 7-on-7, I thought the DBs pretty much dominated the wide receivers. And that might be because the DBs are just really good. Like Kevin Noles had the only interception of the day, the one-on-one. I think it was thrown to Pittman. Pittman had a step on him, but Duffy's ball was a little underthrown, and Knowles made a great adjustment on it and made the play. But it wasn't like Pittman was six yards behind him. I mean, they were almost stride for stride. Excuse me. And then, Cooper's Cooper. He just, he doesn't give up many catches, not even in one-on-ones. He just doesn't. In 11-on-11, they throw him out a couple times, and nope. And then, A.Z. Thomas and McCall, too. And I know you mentioned Jarian Jones, and you're right, because he's a guy you kind of forget is around. He just hasn't done much here. He kind of came in with, for back then anyway, a little bit of fanfare. But he just hasn't done much his first 2 years here. He kind of got overtaken, he got overtaken by some other guys. But, he's in the mix probably to play that other spot and to play a good bit. And, yeah, I liked what I saw from him. But, A.Z. Thomas, and I know it's his REA, but come on, guys, we're going with A.Z. I think that guy has a chance to be special. Something about that dude. And he gave me my favorite play of the day, Aslan. Not that this is one-on-one, but it was an 11-on-11. It was the last play of the day. He's in the left corner. He's covering the receiver. He notices quite quickly that it looks like it's going to be a screen pass. Remember, he's a freshman. I know he's here in the spring, but it was a freshman. He diagnoses the thing instantaneously, beats his block, and makes a tackle in the backfield for a guy that was kind of sweeping in out to the flat. He's right there. That was really encouraging. That to me was really encouraging. McCall had a nice day, I thought. Had a couple PBUs in the one-on-one, and then he came in on a blitz in 11-on-11, and they tried to throw it out to the flat, and he timed his jump perfectly and batted it down. They might have gotten a couple real players in those dudes, but I think particularly Thomas has a chance to play a lot.
Receivers, anybody jump out to you? I think it was, we can incorporate everything now, 11-on-11. I think I saw your observation. One of the first plays I saw back in the IPF when they returned to practice inside of the IPF folks. So they start practice off in the IPF for maybe about 10, 15 minutes. Then they break out onto the fields, and then they do a lot of special teams, and they do some one-on-ones. And then they go back into the IPF to kind of close out the day. Like the first play I saw was I don't know if it was Duffy or my guy Gino English, but I think it was Deuce Spann on the sideline, and it was a deep ball, and he made kind of like an acrobatic catch. And I think in your observation thread, that was one of the top plays that you had seen. So I will go ahead and say that was maybe the best catch of the day. You can kind of fill in the blanks there, but.
I would say that. Actually, no, that's not the one I was talking about because he was out of bounds.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I thought it might have been out. Okay, I got you.
But he made a long catch in the one-on-one, the longest catch of the day on one-on-ones against Renardo Green, where he kind of high-pointed it. He got behind Renardo Green. There aren't many people in the country that can run with Deuce Spann. So he got behind him, and then the throw was a little bit underthrown, but he came back, shielded Green from the ball, and made a catch, which was a good thing to see from a project, from a guy that's that raw. And yeah, man, that was a one-handed twisting. The one he made that you're talking about in the IPF, he was out of bounds because the throw was too far out of bounds.
Okay.
It's just a bad throw. And Duffy had a few of those, to be honest. But, man, he made a twisting, like, over the wrong shoulder, left-handed catch, one-handed catch, which was really kind of remarkable. But he was, he's well out of bounds. But still, you see that along with the speed and the size, and you're like, all right, well, let's something to monitor. I don't expect him to play a lot this year. He's still learning the position. He's still very new. But, man, there are guys that do it quickly. And I could be wrong. I'm not saying he certainly looked better than he did at any point in the spring. So if he keeps improving at this rate, maybe he contributes this year. But he's certainly somebody to monitor because with that skill set, and maybe he does have the ability to make some adjustments on bad throws and twisting his body around like a 5'9" kid. Man, that was impressive. That was an impressive catch, even though it didn't quite count.
I thought Pokey had a good day. Pokey had some nice routes. I think Pokey's got a sort of polish on him now, being fully comfortable playing receiver. I thought he had some real nice routes. And also Ja'Kai. And Ja'Kai was stuck going up on one-on-ones against, maybe the most decorated player on the Florida State roster, Jamie Robinson, who was a part of the ACC preseason team, and he was also made the preseason ACC player of the list or player of the year list. So those were tough matches. But I remember Pokey and Ja'Kai with some really nice routes in terms of receiving options. They were in pajamas, as Norvell said, as Corey echoed those sentiments. So we didn't see a lot from the run game. I think maybe C.J. Campbell had the nicest run of the 11-on-11s later on. But I thought Pokey and Ja'Kai had some nice routes out there for the receivers. My guy Micah Pittman got me a little bit nervous on that one route in one-on-ones when he bumped into Shaheem Brown and just bounced off of him like one of the skinny guys in ice hockey when you hit the fat guy in Nintendo NES. You guys remember the ice hockey video game? Like, he bounced right off him. I'm like, come on, Mike. You got to be a little, like, girth up a little bit, man. You're supposed to be our number one receiver. You can't just get bounced off by a safety like that, but maybe it's just not a good matchup for him.
Well, yeah, and he did fine in one-on-one. Like, he's a tough cover, man. He's a tough cover. He's probably going to be, I would think, their leading receiver this season. But, yeah, that particular play, he kind of bounced backwards off Shaheem, not in a good way, kind of threw him completely off the route. But he had other moments where he left guys in his dust. And look, man, I don't even want to comment on Ja'Kai until we got to get the pads off. Like, Helton, too. Ja'Kai even more than Helton. Like, you're in one-on-one situations, they're an impossibility to cover. As be. Like, they're just too quick for anybody going. So, yeah, there's a lot of grabbing and holding after Ja'Kai makes his first or second move because he's just very quick and very fast. But there's more to being a receiver than that, especially in the slot. You got to find grass. You got to get open. You got to stay open. You got to find holes in zone. All that stuff you've got to do. One-on-one with him against anyone on that field in shorts, it's no contest, which is good to have. But let's see a transfer to pads and then in the game. I wanted to talk about Jordan a little bit in reference to the receivers. I thought when we got in there, they did the 7-on-7, and Jordan was fine. Didn't make any mistakes. Threw for like 5 first downs, nothing more than like 15 yards. A few to McLean, a few to Pokey. Simple throws for the most part. One to Ja'Kai, and then he missed. Who was it? He missed. I think it was Rector. He had Ja'Kai on like a corner route. In between, over top of the corner and in front of the safety, that he just missed towards the sideline. It would have been about a 25-yard gain. Like, it was a decent throw. It was just out of his reach. Got it over the corner fine, got it in front of the safety, just missed them before the sideline. And then he missed a wire rector on a seam route where, again, just missed them. And you're like, okay, and I'm not trying to take a shot at Wyatt Rector, but what if that's a more athletic tight end? Is that a good throw? Is that right on the money? But again, I love the decision. It's a good decision, and it was a good throw. Wyatt Rector split the two safeties. He threw it over top of one, and it was just maybe about half a yard out of reach of Wyatt Rector. And it's like those are the throws when they're not wide open that I want to see Jordan make. And he made them. He didn't complete them. But for the most part, I liked what I saw from him. Trying those throws, believing in those throws, doing it with conviction, and just barely missing. And now maybe, again, Ja'Kai Douglas, nice player, should be a nice player, but maybe if that slot receiver's 6'2" instead of 5'9", maybe that throw gets to him too. So it's always hard to judge how bad a throw was just based on where it lands, because you don't know exactly where the runner was supposed to be. But overall, man, I thought Jordan played fine. No turnovers, nothing even close to a turnover. And he really got hurt, man. He had a couple reps of 11 on 11. The offense did virtually nothing in 11 on 11. But the very first pass, the very first play of 11 on 11, he does a slight roll to his right, plants his foot, throws a 14-yard strike in the middle of the field, right in between the 1 and the 4, and our man dropped it. And Johnny Wilson only dropped one pass all day, but that was the one. And then 2 plays later, Jackson West dropped another really nice throw, kind of like a stop route in the middle of the field, kind of back-shouldered it right where he should have, and Jackson West couldn't hold on to that. But Jordan Travis, I thought, looked pretty decent. Looked good, looked fine. Even though, because I feel like people might be hearing that the passing game didn't do much, the offense didn't do much, Travis must have struggled. I thought Jordan was fine. There's nothing wrong with what he did on Wednesday.
Yeah, and he didn't get nearly as many reps as I thought as he was going to. I mean, they were, again, it's the first day, it's pajamas, shorts and shirts. Everybody looks like an All-American. Rest in peace, Bobby Bowden, great line. But yeah, I mean, it was funny. I was filming him in the warm-up in the periods where we were able to actually film, and I was like, do people even really want to watch Jordan warm up anymore? Like, there's no mystery at quarterback. Like, last year was like, all right, show right. McKenzie and show Jordan going back and forth and who's completing what pass. But I'm like, I think it's we kind of know what we have at quarterback. Will we see some big jump? I hope. I don't think we've seen it yet in spring and fall, but maybe when the lights come on and he can run around, maybe some things will change. But yeah, I mean, I thought he looked in control. He looked comfortable. And again, first day, maybe they'll pick things up a little bit better. But I don't know. I think there might be other things. I think people might want to know more about pass rushers and receivers and before they even care about quarterback, because they just know that Jordan's so entrenched at this point. So it's like it's a cool thing, Corey. To not have to. And not that we ever created any kind of drama, but people are always want to know what's going on with the quarterback. It's the most glamour position, so we had to look at it, folks, and we probably talked too much about it. It should have been Jordan, and that should have been the end of the story, but it wasn't. But now it is, so that's all I have to say about Jordan, at least for today.
Good, great. But I did want to say another thing, too. So I was watching it with Jeff, who was out there, and obviously if you've listened to Jeff's show, he very much questions, and I think we all do to a certain extent, if Jordan is ever going to be that quarterback. He can be a good enough quarterback, but is he ever going to take that next step? And there was a play in 11 on 11. Again, they're not tackling, but they're still running full speed. They're just not tackling. And Jordan takes the snap, scans the field for about 2.5, 3 seconds, and then takes off through a hole in the middle. And, Jeff was a little bit upset, like, throw the ball. And it's easy for us to say because we don't know if anybody's open. Somebody might not have been open. And I'm like, yeah, man, but he can still do that. And what that is Jordan takes off in the middle of the field, and I'm telling you, Aslan, to me, he looks like the fastest guy on the field. And it's not like they aren't running after him. Like, I know they blow the play dead. They know they can't tackle him. But sometimes it looks like people are running in slow motion around him. And Florida State's defense, you got guys like Deloach and Robinson and Noles and Cooper on the field. They're pretty fast guys. And to me, Jordan Travis looks like the fastest of all of them. He reminds you, oh, yeah, there's that too. And that's the beauty, I think, of if he can improve as a passer, man, it also can open up running lanes. And what he does just in the spur of the moment, I don't know, man, there aren't quarterbacks built like this. And I know we want him to be this other guy, and you have to be. You can't just rely on your athleticism all the time. But, man, every now and again, he just reminds you, oh, yeah, that's almost indefensible. That's almost indefensible. There aren't linebackers that can chase that down. And he should, because on that play, and I give him the benefit of the doubt, they blow the play dead. That play right there with nobody open immediately is at least a 25-yard run, and it might have been a touchdown. And that's something you got out of this kid, that even if he doesn't see it as quickly as you want, there's still that element in there that he'll remind you about it every now and again.
Yeah, I mean, And we saw it in practice last year. I mean, we saw those moments, and you would defend it, not defend it, I don't want to say, but I mean, you would point out the fact that, listen, even if you want to blow the whistle and green jersey him, when it comes to an actual football game, he's going to be able to take off and take advantage of that stuff. So, maybe he's able to build off of that a little bit more, but that's always going to be part of what makes him special and explosive. But yeah, there's moments last year I remember watching. I'm like, man, how would you defend this offense? And then for some reason on Saturdays, teams would find ways to do it. But maybe, I don't want to put too much pressure on the staff, but we kind of need to. It's time to start producing. But I don't want to maybe put too much on all-acc plate. But I mean, Mike and Tony Tokar, they have to scheme guys open for Jordan, because I don't know. Listen, I mean, Jordan is not afraid to make throws. He's got good accuracy. He's got sufficient accuracy, but he's just not going to pick teams apart. But I mean, they've done good jobs of getting guys free coming out of the backfield and running some rub routes and crossers. They need to do that kind of stuff, because Jordan will be able to see that, feel comfortable with that. And if that stuff's not there, then yeah, he'll run, and they'll profit off of it. So, I
don't want people to think. I don't want people to think that they're out there wanting Jordan to run. Like I think he did it twice the whole time. But it was more of a point of like, that is what a great fallback to have. If your receivers don't get open on a particular play, you still can have a chunk play. Yeah. That's all it reminded me of. Yeah. Is that there's still that element of you can have a chunk play, a 25, 30-yard drive-changing play, even when receivers don't win their one-on-one battles. That's a nice luxury to have that many teams around the country don't. The problem, though, Aslan, the other side of that coin is, man, receivers got to go win their one-on-one battles. This offense can only be so good if none of these guys win one-on-one battles. And because that's what this offense is designed to do. Like, you don't scheme up a lot of just wide-open guys. You got to scheme it up where you get a one-on-one and you've got to go win it. And, they won a few on Wednesday. But not enough. And that's something obviously we'll be monitoring the rest of the season or the rest of the month in late August, and then also the rest of the season. Like, are they going to take that next step? McClain had 2 or 3 first down catches. That's something to build on. We'll see.
He flashed.
But overall, they weren't making a ton of game-changing type plays in the 7-on-7s and the 11-on-11.
But again, it's the first day. They'll be back at it on Thursday afternoon. We will be out there. Ira, Austin, Jeff, Tom will probably be out there. Gene's out there snapping photos. There's a photo gallery up on warchant.com. There was a live reaction show with Tom after practice. Jeff and Ira's observations, over 20 minutes of practice footage, Corey's observations. I think Austin's coming on top of that with even another story. I'm sure Ira's working on something. We out there. We out you, as the kids would say. So you got anything else before we sign off here, Corey? Let you get back on the road, focus on everything. And we touched everything, I feel like, all the things that stood out to us, no?
No, as far as the team or the practice, not really. I did want to mention that, Tatum Bethune talked about how he had groin surgery right when spring practice was ending. Like his groin had been bothering him. He had practiced. We had seen that. And he's just now kind of getting back to full health and full speed. So that'll be interesting to see and interesting to keep an eye on. Like, he was a full participant. I don't want people to think he was out there not practicing. He was a full participant. But that guy, last year is even as well as I thought he played at times in the spring, he was doing it with not a healthy groin. And now he says he feels healthy. He feels as healthy as he has in a while. So that should be good news too. That he is almost back to full speed and definitely should be when the Dukes come to town in late August, my man.
Yeah. Also, Winston Wright, I'm sure you all are aware, because we tweeted it, we put it in the headline of our stories and everything. Winston Wright was also out there with his teammates, so that was kind of cool to see as well. So we'll see how that continues to progress as the week carries on.
He caught a punt. He went out there and caught a kick.
Yeah. So they'll be practicing during the afternoon here on Thursday and Friday. Saturday they'll be off, and then they resume practice on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. And then on Monday, starting next week, they'll go back to morning. So we'll have stuff for you earlier in the day on the website. So stay connected, everybody, to warchant.com. Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 3 o'clock right here on Warchant TV. That's our YouTube channel, as well as 93.3 FM over the air in Tallahassee. You can probably even find it on iHeartRadio or whatever apps are out there for terrestrial radio. So stay connected. The YouTube channel will be jumping. Warchant.com's jumping. We appreciate you guys listening. and ladies too. Somebody retweeted some of our stuff, and it was awesome. I don't even have it in front of me, but it's funny. I promise you, everybody, look at the tweet with our footage, and somebody retweeted. A lady named Brandy. Every summer I tell myself I can't care so much. It doesn't impact my life in any real way, but here I am, watching raw footage of the first day of fall camp. Pathetic. Hashtag go Noles. That's the spirit I like to see and hear. For Corey, I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.